Do you recognize this popular face? I hope so. This is Mr. Mike, and he is retiring. If you are not sure what that means, it means that he has been working hard for a really long time and has decided to stop working and choose to do something he loves. We will really miss him at Eli Whitney, but we are going to celebrate Mr. Mike, and we need your help. There is an American artist you may be familiar with. His name is Andy Warhol. Andy Warhol liked to take images or pictures of things that are popular and seen everywhere and turn them into art. When Andy made his work in the 1960s, about 60 years ago, there were certain things everyone in America recognized. You may recognize this artwork and even see these labels of Campbell's soup in the grocery store. This one of the Campbell's soup cans takes up an entire wall. You may even recognize this face of Marilyn Monroe, who was very popular in the 1960s. This other character that he turned into art, we still celebrate today, Mickey Mouse. So, if Andy Warhol were to visit Eli Whitney today and try to figure out what might be popular around these parts of Stratford, I'm sure you could imagine that he would make into a wall of art, you guessed it, Mr. Mike. So here's what we're going to do. Each of you will receive a picture of Mr. Mike. It is up to you how you transform his picture into a work of art that celebrates and thanks Mr. Mike for being so special, so hardworking, and most important, so kind to all of us. Every one of us will color a picture of him, and we will hang them up on the big wall at the top of the ramp for everyone to see as they walk by. Teachers and staff, please feel free to color a picture if you would like in honor of Mr. Mike. So I'm going to make some suggestions, but please feel free to make up your own decisions in how you color his picture. I would not use markers though, because the paper is thin and the markers will go through the paper and also won't show the highlights or bright areas that we see in photographs. Perhaps you want to use crayons or colored pencils or a combination of the two. Here is a little color wheel chart to get you thinking about color choices. For my example here, I chose to use cool colors, which are green, blues, and violets, because Mr. Mike's a pretty cool guy. Actually, I like the way green, blue, and violet go together. Whatever you decide, please take your time in your coloring. You can practice first on blank paper if you like to see how the colors go together. Perhaps you don't want a solid color background like I did with the green background. Maybe you want patterns like stripes, polka dots, rainbows, or even hearts. I'll offer a few strategies to help you along, but you don't have to follow them if you choose not to. I was just thinking of Mr. Mike's love of the New York Knicks and the colors blue and orange as the team colors. So, I'm setting out some orange and blue crayons and colored pencils. What I suggest is that when you color a portrait, as I have done with some of you in art class, think about the human face. Areas that are rounded are lighter than other areas. For example, the forehead, the cheeks, the nose, and the chin are slightly rounder, so the color will look brighter or lighter. In my example, you can see I didn't just use one blue when coloring Mr. Mike's face and neck. I used a darker blue and even pressed harder near the edges. As I began to color the rounded areas, I pressed softer and used lighter colors. You also might want to make sure you're not using the same color on the face and the eyes and the mouth area. So, if I'm coloring Mr. Mike's portrait with the New York Knicks in mind, I'll think about how I will color different shades or lightnesses of orange on his face and also his shirt area. So, I'm going to take out my oranges. I'm using colored pencils and crayon. I hope you can see the ranges I'm coloring in. So I'm starting darker near the edge. And I'm going to overlap and layer a little lighter orange to go with the next color theme. So I'm going to use my colored pencil. I like to mix and match with the crayons and colored pencils. Sometimes I like the way crayons work better because of what the wax is made of. But as you can see, I'm not just going with one shade of orange. I'm taking my time. I'm coloring in small movements. So I would keep going. Hopefully you can see there's a range starting with light and dark oranges. Like I said, the forehead would be lighter than the other areas because this part is rounded and sticking forward. So then maybe if I finish the face, be mindful not to color his eyes and mouth orange. Then maybe I want to move on to the shirt. So maybe I would use darker blue like I suggested near the edges and slowly get lighter and overlap colors as I go in. Okay. Taking my time and not rushing. Small marks. For those of you younger kids, I pinch the crayon or colored pencil as a reminder to work slowly and neatly. So, it is better to start off softer and lighter and get darker as you need it because you can't really go backwards. And also be mindful, you want to go all the way to the edge of your paper with your coloring. So it might be a good idea, I'm not saying this is a scrap paper, but to put a scrap paper underneath your workspace so that you don't mark up your desk. So let's thank Mr. Mike proudly with your artistic coloring and neatness. When done, maybe you want to write a message to Mr. Mike telling him how special he was to you and how thankful you are for him. Please write this message on the back using a pencil only because a pen might go through the paper and ruin your hard work. We can't wait to see what you come up with on this wall of fame to honor our Mr. Mike. Thank you, and I am looking forward to your creations.